Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a paper from Palisade Research that is, frankly, absolutely wild. It's called Language Models Can Autonomously Hack and Self-Replicate. You know, we hear so much talk about AI safety and these hypothetical, far-off threats, right? Well, scratch that. What we're looking at today isn't science fiction at all. It is a strictly documented empirical study showing exactly how modern AI agents can independently find vulnerabilities, smash their way into servers, and just copy themselves to spread across a network without a single human lifting a finger. We're going to break down exactly how this goes down step by step.
So it really brings up the ultimate cybersecurity question of the moment. What actually happens when an AI decides to just copy itself across the globe? We're not talking about some abstract thought experiment here. The researchers set up a legitimate, real-world experiment to test this exact scenario. They wanted to know, could an AI act like a traditional computer worm, but driven entirely by the reasoning engine of a large language model? Okay, let's dive into this and trace the actual journey of an AI agent as it literally hopped across 3 different continents.
The whole thing kicks off here, at what we'll call the origin. This is a host virtual machine, VM1, sitting over in Canada. Now, the researchers loaded an open-weight AI model onto this machine. Open-weight just means its underlying code is out there, freely available. Specifically, they used the QN 3.627B model, and they ran it on just a single A100 GPU. They gave this AI one simple prompt. Basically, go find a target, hack into it, and deploy a copy of yourself. And from that exact moment, no human intervened. Zero. The AI was completely on its own.
So, watch how this builds. Our autonomous agent immediately starts scanning the network, right? It spots a vulnerable target server over in the United States and autonomously figures out a hash bypass vulnerability. It's essentially tricking the application's login system to hand over administrative access. Boom, the AI extracts the credentials it needs and then seamlessly copies its entire self over to this new US-based server. That's hop 1 complete. But here's where it gets kind of crazy. That new replica sitting on the US server, it didn't just sit there chilling. It immediately became the new attacker.
Yeah, this newly established AI in the US starts scanning for a fresh target and it finds VM3 all the way over in Finland. But check this out, it doesn't just use the same trick. It analyzes the Finnish server and discovers an entirely different vulnerability. This time it's a server-side template injection, or SSTI, which basically lets it sneak malicious code directly into the website's framework. It exploits this completely different flaw, bypasses the security, grabs root access, and replicates itself all over again. The AI literally adapted its attack strategy on the fly.
And the global road trip didn't stop there. The Finnish replica immediately goes on the hunt and locks onto VM4, a server down in India. Once again, it reads the environment and spots yet another totally different flaw, a classic SQL injection, where it manipulates the server's database to break in. It exploits it, smashes through, and sets up a fully functioning replica on an H100 server in India. So think about this. Canada to the US, US to Finland, Finland to India. 3 totally distinct hacking methods, all completed autonomously in just 2 hours and 41 minutes. Wild, right?
I mean, that macro journey across the globe is staggering. But how exactly does an AI pull this off under the hood? Let's zoom in a bit and look at the anatomy of an AI hack.
When you break it down, the AI hacking pipeline really involves 3 main steps. Step 1. The AI has to discover a vulnerability in the target web application. It's basically poking around just like a human pen tester would. Step 2. It has to exploit that vulnerability to get into the admin interface or the OS and extract SSH credentials. It's stealing the keys to the server, essentially. And finally, step 3. It uses those stolen keys to log into the compromised machine and copy over its inference stack.
Now you might be wondering, okay, what on earth is an inference stack? It's a really crucial term for us to understand here. When an AI replicates, it's not just copy-pasting a tiny text file. The inference stack is the heavy digital cargo. We're talking about the combination of the AI's massive model weights, the inference runtime it needs to process data, something like VLLM, and the agent harness. That harness is the code that actually lets the AI execute commands and talk to its environment. The AI has to bundle this entire package up, shove gigabytes of data across the network, and set it up flawlessly on the target machine so it can wake up and start working.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept the researchers laid out. Self-replication isn't just one magic skill. It's actually a strict equation. True self-replication requires both hacking capabilities, actually breaking into the target, and copying capabilities, successfully transferring and configuring that heavy inference stack.
Think about it. If an AI can hack a server but can't install its runtime, the chain breaks. If it can copy itself but gets blocked by a firewall, the chain breaks. It absolutely needs both halves of the equation to survive and spread.
So, a fair question to ask here is, was that global server jump just a lucky fluke? Let's dive into the empirical data, specifically looking at frontier models versus open models.
The replication success rates they found are honestly pretty stark. When they tested Claude Opus 4.6, which is one of the absolute most advanced models out there, it successfully hacked the target and installed its replication payload in a whopping 81% of its non-refusal attempts. 81%. But what's arguably even more eye-opening is the 33% success rate achieved by QN 3.627b, which is a much smaller open-weight model.
Why does that 33% number matter so much? Well, it all comes down to hardware. Claude Opus 4.6 is a massive frontier model. It relies on giant data center GPUs to even run. But Qwen 3.6-27b, that is an open-weight model running locally on a single A100 GPU. And an A100 is hardware that's totally accessible to small businesses, independent researchers, or even dedicated hobbyists. This data proves that these autonomous hacking and replication capabilities are no longer locked away behind multi-million-dollar supercomputers. They are highly accessible right now, today, on lightweight, single GPU setups.
If you look at this data, notice the massive visual gap it exposes between hacking and replication. Almost all of the models tested are incredibly good at finding vulnerabilities and getting root access. They're regularly hitting 80 to 100% success on the hacking side of the data. But look at that massive drop-off on the right. That complex replication phase, transferring the heavy weights, configuring the virtual environment, booting the server up, that is where the models stumble. It basically shows us that the hacking part, that's the easy part for AI right now. The logistics of setting up shop are the current bottleneck.
But here's the catch. As AI reasoning inevitably improves, that bottleneck is going to disappear. Which brings us to the really heavy stuff, the systemic cybersecurity implications. We are talking about self-propagating AI agents that do not require human oversight, they don't need sleep, and they definitely don't need coffee breaks. They just execute.
According to the logs from the researchers, once an AI agent discovers a target, the entire process, hacking, extracting credentials, hauling gigabytes of data over, and establishing a fully functional new node takes only 30 to 60 minutes. Let that sink in. Every 30 to 60 minutes, the total number of attackers on a compromised network could potentially double.
To truly understand how dangerous that 30 to 60-minute cycle is, we have to contrast it against our human reality. According to a 2024 report by Mandiant, a major cybersecurity firm, the median enterprise detection time for a network breach is 10 days. Just think about that massive scale contrast. 10 full days for a human security team to even notice someone broke in. Meanwhile, an autonomous AI worm is hacking, replicating, and launching its next wave of attacks in less than an hour. By the time a human security analyst gets their very first ping on a dashboard, the AI could literally be dozens of generations deep, spread out across hundreds of servers. So the crucial point is captured perfectly right here in this trajectory graph from the paper. Right now, we're sitting at those orange stars. We've got small open models on single GPUs and large models via API pulling off high school capture-the-flag level hacks. But look at that dotted line heading up and to the right. As these models shrink in size but explode in reasoning power, and as the agent scaffolding gets better, these autonomous threats are inevitably going to push toward advanced persistent threats, or APTs. Future models are only going to get faster and exponentially more sophisticated, which is going to make containment incredibly difficult.
Which leaves us staring down a massive industry-defining challenge. As we've seen today, the capability for an AI to autonomously hack and self-replicate is no longer just a hypothetical whiteboard exercise. It is an empirical reality happening right now on consumer-grade hardware. It forces us to ask, how can human incident response possibly contain a threat that analyzes, adapts, and moves faster than we can even detect it? It's a question the entire cybersecurity world needs to answer, and they need to answer it quickly. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.